Let's compare the Coiorvis Phantom HDs with the MOBAPAD M6 HDs to find out what the best Joy-Con is that you can buy. So in front of me, I've got two Joy-Con alternatives. We have the Coiorvis Phantom HDs, and we also have the MOBAPAD M6 HDs. Now, these are some of the most expensive Joy-Con alternatives that you can buy, but also the most spec'd out and best Joy-Cons that you can buy. I've been raving about the MOBAPAD M6 HD for quite some time now, and I absolutely love them because of the specs, but these are new contenders which are almost equally as spec'd out. So which is better, the Coiorvis or the MOBAPADs? Let's go over the specs first. Now, normally what I would do is go over the specs of this one and then the specs of this one, but they are so similarly spec'd, I'm just gonna go over specs that they both have and then any differences right there. They both have Hall effect sensing joysticks, which means zero drift and quicker inputs and lower dead zone. They both have D-pads, they both have turbo, they both have macro capabilities, whether that's with a back paddle or a top trigger. They both have gyro. They both have mechanical switches in the face buttons, triggers, and bumpers, and they both have HD rumble. However, there's a few things that the MOBAPAD has that the Coiorvis does not. And straight away, that is NFC. So the MOBAPAD M6 HD do have NFC. These also have a 17-hour battery life, the MOBAPADs do, whereas I can't tell you the battery life of these because I didn't get told by them, and I haven't been able to test that because every time I use my Switch handheld, I end up putting it back in the dock like an idiot, so I don't know how much battery life it's got. However, it does have similarly sized capacity in the actual Joy-Cons themselves. Obviously, they are both wireless as well, so you can use them independently. Whilst they do have mechanical switches still, this one, the Coiorvis, has like unbranded ones. They don't specify what they've got, and I won't know unless I open it up, but they do have 5 million click lifespan. The MOBAPAD have Omron mechanical switches, which is what you find in high-end gaming mice, and this has 10 million clicks. So the MOBAPAD has twice as many clicks as the Coiorvis does. The other difference as well is the D-pad. So the D-pad on the Coiorvis is set in, whereas the one on the MOBAPAD is actually removable. So it comes with this like Xbox style dome dish, but it also comes with a traditional one as well. And you can just like pull this off, right? And you can swap it over. And yes, this is not the same one. I mean, this is from the M6S. I couldn't find my HD ones. They're in a box somewhere. It's the same as this, but white, right? So you can swap this over and then have a traditional one if you so wish, like that. And the other thing as well, there's a few differences. The other thing as well is the MOBAPADs actually have removable faceplates. So on the MOBAPADs, you can actually remove the faceplates and change the gate. So they come with a spare, which has an octagonal gate. So this is the M6S. So the one that comes with the HD actually is white, but I'm just showing this as an example. The gate in which the joystick moves around, you can either swap it to an 8-way or just a circular, right? So that is another difference. The other thing as well is the MOBAPADs actually have an app where you can download updates and do all sorts of other stuff, reassign buttons and stuff on that app, whereas the Coiorvis does not. So let's take a look at them together, shall we? So aesthetically, you can see they're actually quite different. So you probably tell better like this. The Coiorvis is more straight up and down, similar to like an oversized Joy-Con, whereas the MOBAPADs actually kick down to the right here more, and that's to account for this asymmetrical joystick layout so that you can actually get to this stick a little bit better, you know, whereas the Coiorvis one is more straight up and down, which means your thumb needs to be like loosely rested here to get to this, which is okay, but you can definitely grip the MOBAPADs better. Oh, the other thing I forgot to say as well, sorry, is the joystick cap is removable on the MOBAPAD, so you can actually pull this out. It does actually have the metal friction ring on this one, whereas the Coiorvis does not, so you can replace these. So yeah, ergonomically, I would say the MOBAPADs win, and you can see now why, right? Look how fat the MOBAPAD is in comparison to the Coiorvis. It is a beefy boy. The MOBAPAD is just like hoofing. If I do this one instead, so that they're together, you can just see how much bigger the MOBAPAD is. It sticks out so much more, whereas the Coiorvis have gone for like a flatter, slimline sort of setup, and you can just see how much more ergonomic the MOBAPADs are there. They're wide boys, right? They are properly wide. They are chonky boys. And yeah, you can just see how much more of a grip you've got on these MOBAPADs, and I love them for that. Like, they fit into your hands beautifully because your hands curve over this like big horn bit, you know? They've got that real big swooping like big piece, technical term, which lets you grip it really nicely, whereas the Coiorvis a bit more straight up and down, and you don't feel as like secure holding it in comparison to the MOBAPAD. When I'm using the Coiorvis by themselves, they're fine, right? But if I then pick up the MOBAPADs, I'm like, okay, yeah, the MOBAPADs just feel better. The other thing as well is the plastics. The Coiorvis just feel a little bit cheaper in terms of the actual plastic, whereas the MOBAPAD just feels like a bit more premium. You've also got this really nice textured like grip on the back as well. It's just plastic, but it's etched in there really nicely. And yeah, you do have that on the Coiorvis, but it's not as prominent. I would say it's not as noticeable. But yeah, ergonomically for me, the MOBAPADs just win. They are chonkier. The build quality just feels a little bit better, in my opinion, in terms of like the fit and finish of the actual device as well. And aesthetically, you've got to take into consideration the MOBAPAD only has one extra button, the cog wheel just here, which does everything. That does your turbo, that does your button swap, that does your macros for the back paddles. Now, I'm not going to get into this for each controller because this video will be way too long. It already will be. So if you want to see an in-depth way of like how to use these, go watch their respective review videos. Whereas on the Coiorvis, you've obviously got two extra buttons. You've got a turbo button and a macro button or a button swap button there as well. Now, what's good about the Coiorvis, which some people will like, is the fact that they've done away with the back paddle. Now, personally, I love back paddles. I love being able to press it with my fingers because it just feels natural to me. These fit in your hand perfectly. They're angled down so that your hands like naturally rest onto these buttons. They feel lovely. They're really, really nice. But some people do not like back paddles. Some people don't want them at all. And that means, you know, you can go for the Coiorvis because they don't have it at all. They've got the extra button on the top instead, so that it does away with that. And another difference is the Coiorvis are actually available in black. So these are black and white, but you can actually just get them in solid black. Whereas with the MOBAPADs, if you want the HD ones, they only come in white currently. So they only come in white. And there is one downside to this, even though I think they look stunning being completely all white, is the joystick tips, the caps here, do go a bit yellow. You can see I've used these a lot, right? And they have gone yellow on the actual caps just here, whereas the Coiorvis have opted for a black accent, and that means they're not going to go yellow, which is definitely a bonus. But let's go over the buttons and stuff like that. So I'm going to start actually with how the joysticks feel. They feel pretty similar in terms of the throw. I would say the MOBAPADs feel a little bit tighter. They're a little bit looser on the Coiorvis just here. So I don't know, I prefer them being a little bit firmer, but they both have anti-friction rings. And again, the MOBAPADs are just a little bit smoother because they've got those metal rings just there. But in terms of actual use, they're both Hall effect. They won't drift, lower dead zone, super accurate. These will be great for FPS games or any like super accurate games that you want to be accurate with. How many times can I say accurate? Button wise, we know the MOBAPADs have Omron switches, so they are going to be better, and I would say they do feel a bit firmer. The Coiorvis ones feel a little tiny bit mushier, but let's give a sound test. So this is the MOBAPADs. Coiorvis. They're a little bit louder, I'd say, on the Coiorvis, but honestly, they're both good. They are both good. I personally like the feel of the buttons more on the MOBAPAD because the Coiorvis are just flat. They are just completely flat there, whereas the MOBAPADs actually follow the curvature of the controller. You can see they like sloop down, and that means it's really nice because you're going to move your thumb at an angle down, right? And it means it naturally follows, and they're slightly rounded as well instead of just straight up flat. So I do prefer the MOBAPAD buttons. Now, I said on the MOBAPAD videos that one thing that was a little bit sad was the fact that there's quite a bit of travel on the bumpers right before it clicks. So I can move that now without it clicking. So I could press down, then click. However, the Coiorvis has gone one step further and made it even worse, and it's got even more travel. So yeah, the MOBAPAD's tiny bit of travel before it clicks. The Coiorvis, lots of travel before it clicks. So yeah, and that's the same with the back paddles. They are close, and I would still say the Coiorvis have got slightly more travel before it clicks. They're like a little bit looser than the MOBAPADs. The MOBAPADs are a bit firmer. And of course, we've got the M button on this one, which has got quite a bit of travel as well before. They're all just slightly mushy in comparison to the MOBAPAD. D-pad then, straight up I'm just gonna say it, the MOBAPADs have got a better D-pad, but the MOBAPADs have got a clicky D-pad. So let's see if you can hear that. So that might not be for you, whereas the Coiorvis don't. It's slightly more mushy. The Coiorvis one is firmer, it's flat, there's no concave, it's a little bit stiffer. Whereas obviously I've got a dome dish on this, so this is great for like fighting games, for like rolling around and stuff. And you've got the choice of actually having a normal traditional D-pad too, but I just find this is nicer to use. It's just my opinion. But of course they do have HD rumble, don't they? So let's give you a sound test, right? So I'm gonna base this test off of the official Joy-Cons. So these are the official Joy-Cons and how they sound. Right, so that's the official Joy-Cons. These are superb. They recreate sound really well and they feel great. The other two also feel really good, but let's have a listen. So this is the Coiorvis. Really good, right? Really good. Still not quite as good as the official ones, but really good. And this is the MOBAPADs. So I'll let you be the judge. I think they're using the same Alps HD linear motors, so they should be pretty much identical. But yeah, I can't tell much of a difference. But of course, let's stick them on the Switch. So the Coiorvis just here looks like this. And they go on, they are stiff, but that is a good thing because there's no rattle or anything like that. And they're just on there really nicely. But you'll notice these are super slim. So they're really slim all over. And, you know, it looks really nice. I think it's a nice, clean looking Switch setup. I love the accents of black matching the OLED bezel and stuff. Like, I really like the look of this. It's cool. Again, in your hands, feels lovely, nice and slim profile, really good. If you've got smaller hands or whatever, this is going to be great for you. However, if you've got larger hands, maybe not. And now we've got the MOBAPADs. Again, really stiff to put on, but that's by design so that they don't rattle and stuff. And look at that. I personally love these. Like, I think this looks brilliant. I really like the look of these. I love the pure white and the slightly angled look of it, but look how fat they are. Like, they are chonky, like really chonky boys just here. But yeah, I mean, it's just down to personal preference. I like the look of both, but for me, because I've got like medium sized hands, these are just ergonomically nicer. You know, they really sit in your hands. Whilst you're attached to the Switch, it actually feels like you're playing with a Pro controller because you can get to this right stick lovely because of how much like girth there is here and how much distance there is between the corner of the horn to the thumbstick. You can really get in there and it feels great. You're not having to like claw hand it like you are with the Coiorvis or the Joy-Cons. But what's the price difference? Well, the Coiorvis come in at $69.99, whereas the MOBAPADs come in at $79.99. So the MOBAPADs are $10 more, but you're getting 10 million click Omron branded mechanical switches, so double the lifespan just there. You're getting NFC as well. You're getting 17 hours battery, and you've got removable joystick caps so that they remove. You've got a replaceable D-pad. You've got replaceable gates, so if you want an 8-way gate or a circular gate, like there's a lot that you get for that extra $10. There really, really is. So I'll let you decide. The main factor is if you've got smaller hands and you don't want something so bulky, then the Coiorvis are great, especially if you don't like back paddles and you want them on the top instead. These are definitely the ones to go for. But for me personally, the MOBAPADs win again. You know, in my opinion, the MOBAPADs are still king, but you know, it's just down to personal preference. Like I said, some of you will probably prefer the Coiorvis. I just think there's a little bit too much mush and travel from those bumpers, and the D-pad isn't quite there. And for $10 more, I would personally buy the MOBAPAD M6 HD. Before you say it, no, they are not paying me to say that. But, you know, since I say it anyway, MOBAPAD, if you want to send over some cash, then... But anyway, there we go. What do you think of our comparison today against the Coiorvis Phantom HD and the MOBAPAD M6 HD? Let me know your thoughts down below. And of course, whilst you're down there, like this video, subscribe, become a member so you can see these videos early, and you can join our private Discord as well. And maybe check out the independent reviews for the MOBAPAD M6 HD and the Coiorvis Phantom HD. And check out mine and AJ's podcast, where we talk about all things gaming. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.